Hello, welcome back to me reading Snowbound Blood. We're now on volume 10, sorry. Last one, so far. I probably rushed through these, but I don't know. I've been really enjoying it, I want to just kind of do it. And I'm probably going to be playing some other stuff after this. I probably won't do a video next week, because next 2 days of the next week after that, I have my final tests for college, so I'll be trying to focus on that. But anyway, Volume 10 of Shots, Animated and Leaden. We're in the endgame now. Each gambit draws ever closer to a convincing checkmate. Time to move the next piece. That was quick. So we have Crichton, Lydian, and Hyan Refero. We're going to do Crichton first, obviously, left to right. Content warning. This route contains discussion of relationship abuse and trauma. Yeah. Just a forewarning. This is actually a very, very, very different route. Glomer's late. You pace in front of his home unit compound, trying to keep out of sight of any of the other occupants. One in particular you very much want to avoid. Running into Sabian Barrera would be a surefire way to waste time, and that's already in pitifully short supply. You don't hear any music coming from the building presently, though, which takes as a sign that he's either not home or asleep. Regardless, you would rather err on the side of caution, so you make sure to confine your agitated pacing to where it will remain mostly unseen and, hopefully, unheard. The back of your neck itches. There's no one in sight, either outdoors or at the windows, but you feel as though you're being watched, trapped in a maze, albeit not the hedge kind. Doubts and unease have become your constant companions. Try as you might, you can't keep your thoughts from unfurling and catching on the scabs of wounds, both old and new. Your whole body protests as you beat a path against the hard ground, but the rhythm of it clears your mind and steals your resolve. You're so very tired. You're more tired than you can remember ever being. But you'll see this through. If there was ever a point you could give up, you've long since passed it. You must press on. And Glomer is your liaison with your next interviewee. You're starting to wonder whether convincing Hamifi to let him leave earlier was even worth it when he's being so tardy. Perhaps you can just speed matters along and make your own introductions. Just as you spin on your right heel for the 16th time, a familiar silhouette appears within your field of vision. Finally. Glomer's moving slowly as he approaches you, wobbling from one leg to the other so severely that you're worried he's going to topple over before he reaches you. For anyone else, you might wonder if he was inebriated. As it is, you mostly wonder whether he somehow managed to fall asleep walking. His eyes are open, though. He walks up to you and blinks blearily. You're late. Pleasure to see you, too, Chief Regulator. Trust me, if I had any sort of decision-making power down there, I would have been here on time. To tell you, even with the extenuating circumstances, I just could not get the boss lady to let me off the hook. You feel a pang of sympathy at that, mixed with annoyance. Perhaps it really wasn't his fault that he didn't get here sooner. You're pulling strings with Hamifi, only managed to get him half a shift off, though you're hardly surprised you kept him longer anyway. You wish he hadn't made you wait, but you do have the privilege of being frustrated with her. Your purpose here is quite clear, and you've loitered long enough. Shall we head in? Yeah. It'd be great if you could finish your investigating before the rest of the boys got here, by the way, thanks. Right, Glomer made a point of informing you about his and Crichton's evening plans. All the more reason to keep this visit brief. He trudges along the entrance and you follow along. While he fumbles with the door, he begins, unprompted, to relate to you why he didn't make it to your meeting on time. His words wash over you, though any meaning becomes lost as they blend together into a crackling static noise. Oh. So very tired. You feel the beginning of a headache, but rub the bridge of your nose and focus on the breath. You rub the bridge of your nose and focus on the matter at hand. Ormsey Mort. Noxious. You're getting close now. You must get his location, and Glomer's makes for it as a necessary expertise. You need to convince him to help you by whatever means necessary. A story is a heavy thing. Perhaps he's been unkind to place the brunt of its weight upon a singular pair of shoulders. Let us have someone else share the burden once more. Interesting. Oh? There's a lot to unpack in this fucking room, Jesus. Your name is Crichton Lydian, and you're waiting for your mate spirit to come home. Oh. You're sitting at your desk, making good use of your day off by catching up on the latest news and rumours surrounding your favourite media franchises. Your list just purrs away in your lap. Currently, you're perusing some articles on Polyhedron, your go-to website to keep up to date on all things anime. Really poor choice, Crichton. Also, I see those CDs there, I see the trans and the asexual symbol, you can't fool me. Some leaks of dubious veracity suggest that Araki is considering a return to an older form, away from the hyper-intense and intricate battle formulas the show is now infamous for. Purists are getting into heated arguments over the absence of the power grades that so closely resemble Repton's arcane myths, in yet another brazen universe-shifting installment. You roll your eyes. Honestly, people get so mad over every potential creative decision. It's like the sudden pivots have always been a part of the show or anything. Anyway, anime opinions aside, work has been even more hectic than usual, with long hours spent at corporate trying to stay ahead of deadlines that never seem to stop multiplying. Not that you aren't grateful to be entrusted with more responsibilities, far from it. But it's also meant that you often come home long after Gloom has left for work. You miss him. You've been trying to schedule more time to spend together, but between both of your jobs, it's kind of a hellish task. Tonight, though, you'll finally be able to meet with him and the rest of the boys. You're going to watch some anime. Something you've really been looking forward to. Oh, how I envy you. Just as you glance at the clock on your screen, the soft click of the door unlocking comes from the hallway. The familiar comforting rumble of Glomer's voice pours into the unit and settles like a ball of warmth inside your chest. Comforting. Definitely not what my voice has been. Platty Cat doesn't wake up, but her purring grows louder. Another voice slices through the room, clipped and sharp. Quiet but authoritative. Platty Cat sits up with a start and then hops out of your arms. Hey! She dashes to the corners of the room, her tail standing at the attention as she looks around, tense. You guess you can't really blame her for being wary of strangers. You stare at her for a moment, all too aware of the absence where her soothing weight was just moments ago. Then you stand up and move to greet your guest. Glomer told you about the chief regulator who wanted to speak to you. She was working on a case, he said, and needed some help that you might be able to provide. You agreed, partly because it would mean Glomer could get off work early, but partly because it didn't really seem like you had the option not to. From what Glomer had gathered, she was pretty firmly set on it, and saying no to a determined regulator doesn't tend to be the best idea. Sorry, I got distracted by the little fucking Dio figure up there. It'll be fine, probably. You'll just answer her questions and help as much as you can, and afterwards you'll be free to spend a relaxing evening with Glomer and the others. Shake the apprehension out of your head and wander into the hallway. Snake! Snake! Want me to get you some slippers or something? I'm fine, thank you. I actually think there's a lot of new Cecily sprites introduced in this because we don't actually get to see it from her perspective. Well, we do, but we don't see her sprites. Oh, speaking of which, she does look very pretty in that sprite, I must say. The chief regulator looks like her voice sounds. Stern and put together. Her jaw is set in a tight line as she surveys the interior of your hive. When her eyes meet yours, there's an intensity in them that's almost scathing. Your gaze darts to the floor. You'll cry. You'll cry. He pads across the floor to your side to kiss your cheek, and you can't help but smile. Hi, Glow. Welcome home. This is your favourite time of the day, especially now that you've been able to spend less time with Glomer. The laid-back, comfortable affection between you always puts you at ease without fail. Lacing your fingers with his, you look at the regulator again. Hi, Chief Regulator. Glomer told me you wanted to speak to me. Cecily's fine, and yes, I need your assistance with the case I'm working on. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me. Besides you, Glomer scoffs under his breath. You're clearly not the only one who didn't think he had a say in the matter. Despite that, you try to put a smile on your face. The regulator, Cecily, seems polite enough, and you don't want to be rude to a guest. Of course. I hope I can help. Should we go to my office to talk? That's an excellent idea. You turn to look at Glomer and... oh, he doesn't seem super great. The bags under his eyes are even bigger than usual, and his skin looks pale and dull. It's a bit concerning. Do you want me to stick around, Cry? Fair warning, though, I'm not going to be very good company. He blinks, so slowly that you aren't sure if he's going to open his eyes again for a second. It won't be the first time he fell asleep standing. You give his hand a squeeze. It's okay, Glow. You should get some rest before the others get here. Are you sure? You lean and give him a peck on the lips. A little smile lights up on his tired face and you feel a burst of joy. I am. Don't forget to set an alarm. Okay. I'm gonna go crash then. Shout if you need anything, alright? You smile and give him a nod. With a soft grunt, He lets go of your hand and heads for the respite block. See you, Regulator. He's walked to the door before she can respond. She stares after him for a moment, one eyebrow raised, and then focuses on you again. Shall we then? Yes, this way, please. Cecily follows you back into your office. You stop into the centre of it and turn to her, suddenly unsure how to proceed. It's been a while since you last had a stranger in your home. Make yourself comfortable? You don't intend for it to come out sounding like a question, but it does, and you try to bite back the embarrassment. You rub your arm. Cecily doesn't reply immediately. After another moment of silence, you pull out your chair and sink into it. Working at corporate, you've caught glimpses of some of the regulators, but you haven't had much cause to cross paths with them. Now that the chief regulator herself is standing in the middle of your office, you're struck by how, well, out of place she looks. She's like something out of a story, with the crisp angles of her coat and the visor hiding one of her eyes. A rapier, épée, hangs at her hip, and the pommel seems almost too shiny. You bought a replica sword at a convention once, but you have no doubt this one is the real deal. You don't envy all the trolls who found themselves at the business end of this weapon, though they must have deserved it. For sure. You realise you're staring, but Cecily doesn't seem to have noticed. She's scanning the room with her brow furrowed. Is something wrong? Her attention snaps back to you. A moment later, her expression clears. Not at all. She takes a deep breath and crosses her arms. So, the purpose of my visit. I assume Glurma has already told you why I wanted to speak to you. Well, he didn't know the particulars, so some extra context would definitely be nice. Very well. Allow me to give you the lowdown. Let me sit more comfortably. My throat kind of hurts. She tells you about a stolen item and being tasked to retrieve it, and the person behind it all taunting her at every step. She speaks of cultists and hermits and happenstances that are too convenient to be coincidental. Then she mentions a suspect who has a history of harassing trolls on the internet, and something heavy settles on your chest. So, as I've been informed, you know your way around computers. I need your assistance in tracking down my suspect. The regulator has concluded her story. You clear your throat, struggling to form words. You said this person has the bullied other trolls online? Correct. He has a pattern of harassing vulnerable people into hurting themselves. It sounds so matter-of-fact the way she says it. Simple. Totally removed from the dread of seeing your oldest fears staring at you from your computer screen. Grab your arms and steady yourself. Do you know what handle he uses? Cecily's eyes narrow at you, but after a moment she says, he goes by Obnoxious Antidote. Uh-oh. Surely you've wondered what the consequences might be if your little secret came out. Your grip on your arm tightens. Ever since you blocked him, you tried to forget that handle. You've gotten better at it. You've gotten better at not thinking about all that stuff in general, but you're familiar with that alias, aren't you? Seems you don't have much of a choice in the matter right now. She's neutral when she says it, and if it weren't for the lock of her jaw, she might as well be asking about the weather. You breathe out, reminding yourself that he's got no power over you, and try to answer with the same ease. Yes, he's contacted me too. That's a new sprite. Suddenly Cecily seems to take up more of the room, her shoulders squaring, hand darting to the hilt of her rapier, and you realise she has more feelings about this than she lets on. I assure you, no harm is going to come to you. Has he threatened you? You hear yourself laughing to your own surprise, though there isn't any humour in it. You needed that kind of certainty when it was happening, but the only people you could rely on for it were those close to you. It worked out. No, don't worry about it. I'm safe. Are you certain? Yeah, the stuff he's got on me doesn't affect me anymore. It's all in the past. You try to give her what you hope is a reassuring smile. You refuse to think about this now. About OA's threats in your life before Stronghold 21. Not today. You're looking forward to today. Don't worry about me, Cecily. No. She stares at you for another beat. You glance away, wishing that she'd drop it. When she doesn't say anything more, you change the topic yourself. So, you want me to track him down? That's right. Can you do it? She's back to business in an instant, with that same fierce determination from before in her eyes. You nod. I'll do my best. Your computer comes to life with a low whir when you move the mouse. A course of action is already charted out in your mind. You might have daydreamed about doing this exact thing before. It's a little exciting, honestly. Like getting to star in a proper mystery show for an episode or two. No, Crichton was in a mystery. Crichton would be in part of the main cast, definitely. Also, I see the Andari's thingy over there on the wall. I see that. As the thought pops into your mind, you feel Cecily draw closer, peering over your shoulder. You force yourself not to flinch. His name's Ormsey Mort, and he's 8 sweeps old. Besides Obnoxious Antidote, he also goes by Noxious. His sigil is Dissolve, if any of that is useful. I was going to just use the message he sent me over the Scorp to track his IP. Oh. Very well then. You boot up Scorp and navigate to the blocked user section. Only hesitating for a second when you unblock OA, your insides twist with apprehension, but luckily he's offline. Yeah, he's not. We haven't really seen him for like the past volume, and he's not in the next route either, which I think's a bit off. I don't know. Maybe he's doing something. Then it's just a matter of popping open a few windows, inputting a few lines. Loading bar appears on the screen. You lean back, brushing some hair off your face. So far, so good. In the absence of clicking keys, the room once again gets very quiet. I'm surprised your neighbour is so considerate today. Huh? The confusion must be written across your face because she's quick to clarify. Sabian. I came over to talk to him recently and he seemed determined to tear this building apart with his music. Oh, that little troublemaker. You've no idea what kind of business a corporate regulator could possibly have with him, but the comment makes you chuckle. You're really not too far from the truth. Sabian's a great kid, but he really likes turning the volume all the way up. You cast an apprehensive glance at the ceiling, as if talking of Sabian might summon him. The ceiling remains blessedly silent. It kind of makes living here a little difficult sometimes. I don't enjoy loud noises very much. Says his mouth curves something that's almost a smile and full of sympathy. Yes, I know how that goes. He's not at home right now, though, so don't worry about it getting loud anytime soon. I'm glad to hear that. Give her a smile before focusing back on the screen. As if on cue, the loading bar fills with a ding. It's been a while since you last did this kind of thing, but you quickly settle into a rhythm. The process is like assembling a puzzle. Now you have your pieces. So how does this whole thing work? A sudden question gives you a start, and you turn to look at Cecily. She gestures to your workstation. The method you're using to track Ormsey. Oh, this you can answer pretty well. It's pretty straightforward, really. I'm using the information that he's already contained in the messages that he sent me. See, because he has a Scorp installed on his device, like a computer or a tablet, there's a direct connection that I can use to find out where that device is. So when I ping it, I'm going to get an IP address that will correspond to its location. Cecily's giving you the full weight of her attention, which is kind of intimidating, but you can't help tell her expression if she's following. Does that make sense? Yes, I believe so. I didn't realize tracking someone down on the internet was such a simple process. Well, you won't call it exactly simple. There's a bit more to it than that, but I'm pretty good at this, I think. Also, it gets a lot more complicated if you're using a VPN or some other means to try and hide your location. I see. You're saying Ormsey is using no such means. He doesn't seem to be? You mentally scratch your head. With Owen's behaviour during the few interactions you had, not having some kind of online privacy network does strike you as a little odd. Sally aims to share the concern. She crosses her arms, looks between you and the screen with her eyes narrowed. You feel like you've done something wrong. Is there a problem, Cecily? No, I suppose not. Her concentrated expression really doesn't make you believe her, but she speaks again before you decide whether to press it. How long is this going to take? Well, if not it's not encrypted, it'll only take a few minutes, but... Yep, just as you expected. And goes the error message. Yeah, it seems that it is encrypted. Can't have it be too easy, I guess. You giggle, but the sound peters out almost immediately. You shift your attention back to the screen. Does this mean we're stuck? Oh, no, not at all. This will take a bit longer, though. You go back to typing while you explain. You're not about to give up so easily. I have a program that I can run the IP through in order to decrypt it. It's a bit slower, but it shouldn't take too long. Got it. Thank you for the explanation, Crichton. Sure thing. You go back to work. The message comforting click, click, click of the keyboard fills the room again. All of these posters come from cartoons. You peer up from your screen, smiling as you try to see which part of your display she's looking at. It's the Utena one. She's got good taste. Oh, it's anime. Most of them are from series, and there are a couple of movies too. Animated ones. Yes. I see. This isn't the first time someone reacts to your mention of anime like it's something to look down on, but it doesn't make it any more pleasant. People have no appreciation for Rebiton's more independent media, you swear, especially series as underground as Utena. I only have like 3 posters up. I've got a Death Note one, a My Hero Academia one, and a Vastera one. I'm going to get a Snowbound Blood one as well when that one comes out. I'm definitely buying that. Susie must have noticed your displeasure because after a round of deliberation, she makes a peace offering. What is your favourite, anime? She has the word like it tastes weird. You appreciate her trying, though, and you welcome the opportunity to introduce her to another person to the magic of the best show of all time. Oh, it's absolutely revolutionary girl Utena. He points to the poster where she's looking at again, a pink-haired girl holding another dark-haired one in an intimate protective embrace. You get choked up thinking about all the symbolism of a fuchsia blood character rejecting tradition and fighting for what she believes in. You could talk about Utena for hours. You actually have. Glimmer can vouch for that.
It's so good. It's also kind of silly and whimsical, but it actually has a really thoughtful look into a lot of serious topics, such as agency and cycles of abuse. The cast is full of very interesting and complicated characters with complex relationships to each other, and the main plotline revolves around Utena and Anthony's love. The way that relationship that transcends quadrants is the axis the whole story pivots on is a bold choice that no mainstream show would ever risk. It's funny, weird, and heartbreaking, and the story helped me through a lot of hard times and made me realise a lot about myself. You're also getting to Utena's deconstruction of the prince role and its connotations as an allegory for gender, along with some very topical commentary on Renaissance's social hierarchy. That's when you notice that Cecily's eyes have gotten a bit glassy. Alright, what the chance a complete stranger would care about your passionate dissertation on a cartoon? You sigh and feel yourself deflating. Sorry, I'm rambling. No need to apologise, Crichton. Thank you for indulging me. Yeah, it's just a very good show. No, go on. Her eyes linger on the poster for another second. It sounds like one. You're not sure how sincere her comment is exactly, but with a small nod you go back to your work. Another few seconds pass before Cecily speaks again. Glover mentioned that you had plans with the boys tonight. The way she says the name, you can tell she's capitalising both words and not too happy about it. It's kind of funny how offended she seems by the moniker's existence. Yeah. With Picon and Dari, I believe you've met them. You know for a fact she did. Both of them told you and Gloma about their very different experiences with the Chief Regulator. Cecily's fingers switched toward her rapier again. You think it's safe to say she's not remembering one of those encounters very fondly. You think of the cut on Bitcon's neck and swallow, your mouth suddenly dry. He downplayed the situation at the time, but even sheathed this blade makes you uneasy. Yeah, this rounds for all the Bitcoin misunderstanders out there. We try to spend as much time together as our jobs and, well, everything else allows us. Her expression softens, encouraging you to keep going. Even if it's just watching some stuff together. I think it's good to have this tradition, if that makes sense. Work is stressful for all of us, and you've seen how Glimmer is. You hope he's having a good nap. Cecily shifts her weight from one door to the other, and her eyes dart to the door. Is something wrong? Not at all. I'm just sorry to intrude on your evening plans. You try to smile at her, but it feels tacked on, forced. It's not a problem. I realise that it's an important case. You only get non-committal hum in response. The silence that follows doesn't help the awkwardness. It's fine, you only need to wait for this to finish decrypting. Remember your Matrid, correct? Yes. Despite the circumstances, this is a topic that perks you up right away. You feel your face splitting into a smile. We moved in together a couple of sweeps ago because we figured it'd be easier to make time for each other if we shared a living space. It's been really good. It's nice to be able to come home to someone. You decide to venture a question of your own. It's only polite, right? What about you, Cecily? Her expression drains of all warmth. I live alone. Silence falls over the room once again. You're not really sure what you did wrong, but there was an invisible line and you crossed it. The air is heavy with something you don't quite understand. But you do get loneliness, you think. You didn't have anyone to come home to when you first moved into Stronghold, not even Plattycat. You tried to fill the emptiness with work and with your hobbies, but you were drifting. It took time to find something to anchor you. Crichton. Cecily's staring at you with an expression you can't read. You feel yourself tense up. Yeah? You mentioned that Ormsey had contacted you before. Does he have any information on you that I should know about? This again. As helpful as you're trying to be, you don't appreciate this line of questioning. No, it's old stuff. It doesn't matter anymore. You say it with more conviction than you feel, but it still doesn't seem to satisfy her. Cecily sighs. I apologise for pressing this, but it is my job to protect people, and I believe that Ormsey is dangerous enough to warrant a certain level of caution. You cross your arms against the frustration that builds up inside you. I'm not interested in how dangerous he is, but I can deal with this. It's private. Cecily's considering you as if looking for a weak spot to strike. You have nothing to deflect her next blow with. Are you confident enough to endanger your loved ones, too? Cecily. You open your mouth to retaliate, but any arguments you might have offered are overpowered by the thought of Gloma, of Picon and Dari coming into harm's way because of you. It doesn't matter if the risk is small. If something were to happen to them that you could have prevented, you don't know how you could have lived with yourself. You can tell by the Cecily's eyes that she knows she's won. You hold a slump. All right. It's about my ex Morale. We grew up together. For the longest time, it felt like he was the only person who really understood you. You squeeze your elbow, rub your arm. All these sweeps later, and it's still so clear in your mind. You didn't have illusions growing up, so for the most part, it was just you and him, and the way he listened to you made you think he cared. At some point, he started to get jealous when I'd meet other people, and tried to make me spend time with him instead. Morale should confide everything in each other. He said that often, even if he started to talk over you, make decisions for you, disregard your boundaries, and then get upset whenever you pointed it out. It made you feel like you were losing your mind. You pick up a marker on your desk and start twisting the cap this and that way. It got worse with time. You didn't realise how controlling he was being until well after it became a natural part of your relationship. You keep fidgeting with the marker. The cap makes a soft click as you open and close it. He didn't agree with the choice I was making for myself, I guess. I think he was scared that if I changed, our relationship would too. He was right about that, if nothing else. It was so suffocating that part of me wanted to just drop whatever we argued about when we did. Every single time. It wasn't worth fighting with him. Cecily's quiet as you speak, but her features have softened into something like sympathy. He doesn't seem like he was a very good Morail. You chuckle under your breath. That's the understatement of the Centenalia. He wasn't. You think back to the pressure he put you under, the constant arguments that came with him trying to make you do what he thought was right, how he tried to isolate you from others. At that point, you tried starting to recognise the abuse, so you stuck your guns up as much as you could. You drew strength from wherever you could find it, and the stories told by shows such as Utena gave the inspiration to fight back, as silly as that might sound to others. It took me a while, but I eventually broke up with him. You wrap your arm around yourself. Your hand clutches the marker so hard that you can feel the grooves of the cap marking your skin. It hurts a little, but it helps anchor you in the present. It didn't go well, I'm assuming. You shake your head. We had a fight. You told him about the things he'd been doing wrong, why you decided you didn't want to be with him anymore. You tried to keep a level head and stay calm. But it mattered little. He said you were being unreasonable, blowing stuff out of proportion, that you needed him and you were making a terrible mistake. Not that any of it was surprising at that point. You don't know it would be hard going in, but the conversation was nearly too much for you anyway. He had a way of getting under your skin. He almost convinced you he was right. Again. You take a deep breath and push your shoulders back. It got bad. I told him to meet me at the shore, but it ended up turning into a fight. It was your spot before everything went south. You used to find it so calming. The sound of waves crashing against the cliff. One misstep, he was so close to the edge, and neither of you noticed. He lets out another breath, but this one comes out shaky. Click, click, the cap of the marker goes. Long story short, I made it back. He didn't. Something in the water took him. That was the last time I ever saw him. You never looked back. You never checked to see if he'd made it out, but that's one uncertainty you're content to live with. You put the marker back on the desk. I moved out some time later, came to the stronghold. You were able to start transitioning then, and got Platycat as an emotional support Lucis. You glanced at a little bed by the wall and feel yourself smiling. In time, you made some friends, met Gloma and the boys. Pardon me. You settled in. You don't have the weight of someone else's expectations bearing down on you anymore. You meet Cecily's eyes and conclude your story. I'm trying to move on from everything that happened before. And almost threatened to bring it all back into your life. He did. He talked about my Morail and a lot of stuff he used to say and how I left him to die out there. And I betrayed him. But I didn't. I did what was right for me, and the rest wasn't my fault. We were just teens anyway. It's not like I could have fought off whether it was that attacked him. He's out of my life and I've moved on. I wish it hadn't been like that exactly, but the people I care about know what happened and they understand. So I told Ormsey I wasn't scared of him, and that was that. Cecily's eyebrows arch. He left you alone after that. Yeah. I blocked him and he hasn't bothered me since. Yeah, this is like a really, very realistic depiction of like abusive relationships. One that won't go into detail. It kind of hits me hard home, and not in a very good way. Much to your surprise, she smiles. Very subdued, but it's still there. Thank you for telling me this story, Crichton. I'm glad you've been able to leave it in the past. You try to return it, though it feels a little stiff. You don't think you're quite there yet. But you're trying. This might sound presumptuous, but have you considered looking for a new Morail? Whatever sense of calm you were able to muster leaves you along with a sigh. You really wish people would stop asking that. I can't say that I'm interested. It honestly kind of annoys me that this is the immediate reaction I get most of the time. Like, I have to be looking for a new Morail to comfort me or something. I'm not. I'm just talking about my experiences. I don't need a Morail. Or want one, really. Don't have to... all that. Your indignation simmers down into a heavy feeling in your chest. You fiddle with the marker again, rolling it a little from side to side. It's so frustrating. I feel like I shouldn't talk about this. Like, I'm not allowed to share it with my friends or my partner because it's some sort of burden. The kind of thing you're only meant to discuss with a Morail. You sometimes wonder if what it even means to be to be that to someone, or if you ever actually felt that very specific sort of attraction toward anyone. It all seems a little arbitrary to you. You clear your throat, shelving your thoughts for a better time, and return your attention to Cecily. I don't know, I'll figure it out at some point. You will. You have to. A loud ding startles you. Oh, it's finished decrypting! You scramble to read the new notification on the screen. You're just about ready to have this entire thing sorted. Something the matter? Well, this output it gave me, it's gibberish. I don't know what it is. I don't know what this is. You scroll through the file, hoping you might glean something, anything from the incomprehensible string of symbols. You find nothing. The room suddenly feels very cold. I see. He has a look at the regulator, her arms across, frustration rolling off in her waves. She seems bigger somehow, like she's occupying more space than you need to cower away. Pardon me. You don't. You return to your computer, swallowing against the frantic beating of your blood pusher. Pardon me. This makes no sense. There is something I can do with this output. Yet another fool's errand. Her voice is cold and sharp like the blade of her sword. No, there should be some way to... To do what? I'm a technological neophyte, Crichton, but even I know you can't access information that isn't there. But it's got to be there because... The front door slams open, putting an abrupt end to your objection. There's only one person who... What's up, boys? There we go. Bitcoin sure knows how to make an entrance. Can't realise how late it had gotten. You trail off, gesture towards the door, and make a break for it. Bacon and Indari make their way into the living room, just as you do. Their arms locked at the elbows in that easy, carefree way that seems to come so naturally to them. Already, you feel yourself relaxing. Hello, Crichton dear. Apologies if me and Bit kept you two waiting. Hi guys, I'm glad you could make it. Did you doubt that we would? Of course we made it over for boys' time! The woman pokes his head into the room, looking all sleepy dishevelled. Don't know I even thought I needed an alarm. He hides the yawn in his elbow and waddles into the room, and Dory steps up to greet him. Oh, your hair is such a mess, love. Glimmer's grumbling is cut short for when Indari leans in for a kiss. He remembers something that you don't catch, flustered, as Indari fusses over the offending strands. Volume's a bit loud. You chuckle. The comfort of being around these three is a welcome relief after your tense interaction with Cecily. Crypto. Speaking of which... The regulator stands at the threshold, glowering at him. A single word cuts through the air, sharp as a knife, and you realise you've taken a step backwards towards the others without noticing. Ah, Monsieur Para, I didn't realise we'd have guests. Big God's smile has lost all its warmth. He stares at Cecily with an edge that almost matches hers. Well, if this isn't our dear old friend Cecily. Had I known we'd be keeping the company of our esteemed regulator, I would have dressed accordingly. Perhaps something serious, stern and solemn, gracefully grave, and out befitting of a mature individual such as yourself. Oh boy. Cecily folds her arms in front of her chest, as if to ward off the bite of Bitcon's words. Tuh. Such a curt response to my amicable array of alliteration. You might hurt my feelings, Monsieur Para. That's a risk I'm willing to take. You break yourself to Bitcon's retort, already calculating the best way to defuse this, but he turns to you instead. May I ask what has won us the special guest appearance of the Chief Regulator herself? Oh, that's right, they don't know about Cecily's visit, do they? You can explain the situation. The more you speak, the more prey takes over everyone's faces. Oh dear. Bitcoin folds his arms, his entire scrunching up is in distaste. Face. Utterly deplorable. Whoever we're dealing with here must be thinking some kind of sick party due to toy with people's heads, like a third character of a villain. Exploiting people's fears in such a manner is beyond struggling enough as it is. You act so surprised. Your eyebrows shoot up as you turn to look at Cecily. The overt hostility of her tone is enough to put you right back on edge, fiddling with the ends of your sleeves. You have a bad feeling about this. I beg your pardon? I would assume you've had a fair amount of exposure to such characters, considering your line of work. The psychology of our cupboard might even be better understood through your expertise. Oh god. Bacon opens his mouth to say something, then closes it again. The hand he normally keeps on his hip falls to his sides, limp. All of a sudden, the room is very still. A cold feeling settles inside your stomach, and you shoot a nervous glance at the Chief Regulator. The brewing conflict hangs heavy in the air. You might go back to the sword at her hip. What exactly are you implying here, Regulator? You need to defuse this before it spirals out of control. I'm sure she didn't mean to insinuate anything, right, Cecily? My apologies, Crichton, but I refuse to stand in the comfort of my trusted company and accept these accusations. You don't have a counterpoint. He's already turned to Cecily again. Who do you take me for, equating me to the monstrous behavior of some sadistic black hat? Oh, look at this art. I thought you in particular might understand, Cecily, that I am more than my business persona. And for you to compare my character to that of the prime suspect in your little case, in front of the boys, is, quite frankly, impertinent. Cecily scoffs. The temperature in the room has dropped below freezing. Impertinent? You were going to talk to me about impertinence? After the little stunt you pulled last time, after obstructing my investigation. Typo. As I'm trying to defend myself wasn't a reasonable course of action, given that you came to my workplace ready to accuse me of murder. Uh-oh. I was doing my job to prevent more people from getting hurt, present company included, which is more than can be said about you. Now hang on there. Am I understanding correctly? You'd have me leave my life with dignity up to your discretion, so you can enact your personal understanding of justice. It's part of my duty to determine and uphold the demarcations of justice. I'm the one being called a criminal. For a moment, the room shocked into silence, then Cecily's voice slashes through it. I will advise you to hold your tongue, Crypto. Her hand comes to the hilt of her blade. Oh no. Your hands are shaking, sirens scream in your mind, and you know you have to do something, but you find yourself paralyzed, lost for words. Indari steps between Cecily and Bacon, resting a hand on his chest. Chief Regulator, I refuse to let you threaten one of my partners. I think you need to leave. She seems stricken for a moment, like she wasn't expecting Indari's reaction. She blinks in surprise, then averts her gaze. Cecily huffs, shakes her head, and lets go of her sword. Crichton and Glomer, thank you for your hospitality and your assistance. I hope you have an enjoyable evening. I will let you know when I might find out more about Ormsey. The words tumble out of your mouth in a rushed mess. You're not sure why. An impulse to do something about damage control, maybe? You mostly just want her out of your place. She nods. Very well. Without another word, the Chief Regulator makes her way out of the room. Glomer and Indari step aside to let her through. Glomer's staring at his feet, but Indari holds his chin up high, watching her leave. A few seconds pass. The front door opens and shuts. Jeez. So, that just happened. You let out a long and steady breath. Your pulse still thrums in your ears. What a way to spend your day off. Glow moves over to your side and rubs your shoulder. You let yourself relax into the touch. You okay, Cry? Yeah, I'm alright. What about you, Bitcon? I will recover. I have learned to associate my run-ins with the Chief Regulator with a certain distress. He's trying to brush it off, but he's pale and tense. One of his hands comes up to his neck, the spot where Cecily injured him during their introductory altercation. Indari runs a soothing hand along his arm, and Bitcon laughs weakly. To think that I tried to cooperate her, in spite of everything, because I believed it was the right thing to do. After I had my own bout of fun, of course. Tell me, did she treat you in such a belligerent manner too, Crichton? No, it was okay for the most part, but she made me talk about my ex-Morael. I tried to tell her it was personal, but... I'm sorry, dear. That must have been quite upsetting. Oh. It got me thinking again. Why did you find a new Morael and all the other stuff people assume, you know? I must absolutely be looking for a replacement for this person who hurt me so badly. I almost died. I can't even tell what was worse. The way he treated me or the aftermath of everything. I feel like maybe it was all my fault. Like if I only had been a bit of better Morael. Seriously, fuck that. None of that bullshit was your fault. It was so hard to learn to believe that, especially when I was getting that reaction. And like, I managed to move on, but how many people are stuck in similar situations? Just accept their mistreatment because they're soulmates who are meant to be or whatever. And if they do leave like I did, the systems that are supposed to support them are just a clusterfuck of bureaucracy. Quite so. All requirements to qualify for a temp are ridiculous. Yeah, especially if you don't experience withdrawal. It's great to be made to feel like your pain doesn't matter because you're never bonded. Honestly, I was so lucky to even be able to get Patty Cat. You push your glasses up to rub your eyes. You're surprised you don't have a headache yet. I don't know, I just wish things were different. Tell me about it. We both ended screwed up in the moral department, didn't we? You're so sweet to me, Gloma. Gloma pauses and rolls his eyes, slowly and pointedly in Indari's direction. It only makes him giggle. With my previous moral before Indari's presence illuminated my sorry excuse for her life, I stopped believing in more allegiance. Anyway, funny I could have this person who's like, yeah, I'm always going to be there for you and help you. The next thing you know, they're just kidding, I'm not going to do that at all, actually, and also fuck you. Like, I thought that was what commitment meant, but I guess the fuck not. Care and support and understanding? Nah. I get divorced instead. Very cool, very helpful. I guess you're too busy having fun while you're cool with friends in some swampy paradise. It's fine, it's like you ever really cared about my feelings. Plum, darling. Fuck, I just needed him to be there, plague or not. I would have been fine. Whatever. I'm over it. Not gonna lie though, it still drives me mad how I showed him a part of myself I'm not proud of. Is there supposed to get mad and leave? What's wrong with me now? Even my fucking cat won't stop giving me shit. The fact that Hamifi hasn't tossed me out yet is a fucking miracle. They treat me like I do everything wrong. I'm so tired of those uppity assholes. Excuse me, my Jade Blood family. God, what if I get to just be me? Seeing Glemmy just like this makes your chest hurt. You wrap your arm around his shoulders, hoping that it might convey some sort of the love you have for him. He folds his head against your shoulders with a sigh, and Dara moves closer to squeeze his hand too. I think I understand how you feel, Glimmer, at least in that part. His voice is quiet, thoughtful. He seems to be weighing each word as he speaks. All the scrutiny is just exhausting, isn't it? It nearly overwhelmed me when I was younger, the expectations and demands. I had to find a community where I could run away from it. My hopes were thoroughly misplaced, of course. This is the worst feeling when you realize that. Certainly. Not being melodramatic, but I felt like my entire world was falling apart. Pardon me. Eventually I knew I had to leave. I still carried so much guilt for wanting to, despite being sure it was the right decision for me. I let go of that guilt now, but I catch myself sometimes thinking that maybe I was wrong. I was simply not good enough. You're more than good enough, and don't you ever forget that. Yeah, I don't say that lightly, but Midcon's right. Midcon's grin is almost as bright as it usually is. I am more often than you give me credit for, my dear friend. I say don't let it get to your head, but I think it's a bit too late for that. A ripple of laughter carries between the four of you, and the somber mood lets up. The eggs are all still there, but they don't crowd the room like they did a short while ago. No one of these three are here with you to keep them at bay. Bacon clasps his hands together. In any case, I came here for an evening of companionship and anime. I want to enjoy the few things I'm lucky to have. Yeah, same. I'd lose my mind without you guys. And Dara's eyes soften with fondness. You feel a distinct sting in your own. I appreciate your company more than I can say. Me too, I was really looking forward to spending time with all of you. Bacon starts to say something, but the chime of his phone in his pocket cuts him off. A soft, vulnerable expression settles on his face. He casts a look around the room, biting his lip. You have little doubt who's texting him. It's rare to see him look so uncertain, but given his circumstances, it isn't surprising. You'll be able to tell him soon. Oh, love. Why did you answer Divina while we set up our movie? Bring us some drinks while you're ready. Yes, yeah. Bacon nods and gives Indari a kiss before he pulls his phone out. It's easy to fall into your usual rhythm here. Glower sets up the TV while Indari grabs some blankets and cushions for everyone and you go find the DVDs. Bacon's voice carries from the kitchen along with the sound of glasses clinking. Some of your tension melts away. When you settle on the couch with Glover's head on your shoulder again, things are back to feeling alright. Did someone request some refreshments? Yes, please, sweetheart. Maybe try using your inside voice for a while once you're at it. Inside voice? I've got no such term in my personal dictionary. What, pray tell, does it mean? You're giggling with Bitcon while Bitcon distributes the drinks. You sit down next to Indari, and then Glomus reaches for the remote and starts the movie. You kiss his cheek. So the episode we're going to be starting is another Nanami one. It's very heavy on the codependency themes again. It's all meant to parallel other relationships in the show, but I'll go into it after we finished watching. I'm not gonna lie, the first few times I read that route, I literally started crying because
You know, I don't know. It just these characters mean a lot to me, and like that, like just seeing like a group of friends have fun and like, you know, acknowledge things about themselves. It's just, you know. Anyway, next we move on to Hyan. You had a sigil. Now you have a name. What you currently lack is a solid and complete plan of attack. Many possible strategies cross your mind. Looking at the pieces in play. Where is Omti? What defenses does he keep? How exactly was the filter stolen, and just how many accomplices stand between you and him? It was also the pressing mystery of the insider who sold the root data to him in the first place. You don't know what you'd do if you found that particular individual. I'm actually gonna... I know I started it, I'm actually gonna go for a minute. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. Oof. I just realised how short Crichton's route was. Yeah, I just had some belly pork and chips. It was very nice, but very filling. So there's still half a plate left. Ugh. These steps have brought you to a barren Reptonian mall, where you walk along narrow alleys towards your primary destination. Graffiti is sparse but apparent. The shops and stores have been built on top of much older ground. In particular, you're passing through a small indoor park, the kind that the higher-ups love to include in so-called rebeautification projects. One of the shrubs squeaks as your leg drags along its plastic surface. How beautiful. Beyond the half-broken walls of the mall lies a barren domestic block. Once, those rooms might have held a promise of growing civilization. Now, most are empty, abandoned, of both trolls and hope alike. This place has clearly seen better days. Stars twinkle against the black of night, peeking between whatever sparse roofing still remains. Every step you take echoes around you, but otherwise they ring unaccompanied. Occasionally, some drunken troll stumbles out from a parlour. A couple speeds up as they stride past, heads bowed in a feeble attempt to obscure faces you already memorised at a glance. They know who you are. They know what you do. You've walked on the streets of this stronghold plenty on your own. Why should now be any different? Oh, I feel really full. Sure, Necron's been a good help so far. Be it fighting cultists back to back, searching out a mysterious recluse through a maze of hallucinations, or finding a satisfying sigil breakthrough. You definitely wouldn't be where you are without a metallic hand from him. But the executive's words ring in your mind, about loss, about pain and about your duty. You don't want to put Necron in that line of fire. You are corporate's finest regulator. You wield Proserpina, a blade with a burdensome, though storied past. Case after case have been managed with precision, dedication and discipline. Each time you brought justice and retribution to this fractured world. Suspects interrogated, informants pursued. Your sword has sliced down every criminal entity who's dared to push their luck. And each time you've done it alone. So yes, you put him in from your mind, returning to the lone clack of feet against the path, and the jostle of your scabbards against your hip. Come on. Like you said, you put him out of your mind. Okay, where were you? Right, the reason for your visit. You turn a card between your fingers, gifted to you early on in the case. While you've exhausted most of your leads and had a number of positive breakthroughs, there's a tantalising thread you've yet to follow. You're searching out a particular weapon specialist in the area, Hyan Refero. You should be approaching her shop any moment. Like a foot traffic, it makes for an opportune moment to recall the information you gathered before setting out. Recall Hyan Refero. She's on file as being an adept gunsmith with a history of selling to regulators. Some of your contacts, and those contacts highlighted other clients of hers may be more dubious. Shadier. If you get a chance, you won't hesitate to dig up a bit more into those rumours. Brushing aside their nature, having contacts in that space could also always provide a possible link to Ormsey and his whereabouts. Regardless, many of your peers have claimed her work is of high quality, and at least 2 of them swore the arms you crafted have no equal in Stronghold 21. You want to ensure you have the right weaponry to take on this troll, and whatever else he might have up his sleeve. We have to admit you're also interested in her apparent problem-solving skills. Ripite claimed she was good at puzzles. It's time to see just how good. Come to a stop at the rather conspicuous storefront. There's a modest sign above the doorway. Gunhilda. To be honest, after experiencing places like the headache-inducing Currency Dome, something more down-to-earth and humble feels very reassuring. The plain door swings open easily enough. Your hand hovers at your waist as you enter. Caution is key as usual. Ooh. Look at all these guns. A quick scan of the room reveals little out of the ordinary. From your vantage point at the front of the store, the checkout counter is immediately to your left. Weaponry in various shapes and sizes sits behind the glass. Calm down, Mum.
Still to the left is an even more impressive wall of firearms. You begin to see some of those fine details and handiwork that so many of your peers had raved about. To your right lies a more eclectic mix of furniture, some basic shelves displaying discounted wares in a small area with an interesting arrangement of seating, games and puzzles. A chessboard lays dormant in clear view, with pieces abandoned mid-game. A shame, you muse, and black could mate in 12 moves. Straight ahead are several rows of ammunition, a collection of gun mods, individual components for repair, and so on. You also catch some workbenches in the back, but the height of the aisles makes it difficult to see too far on either side. Suddenly there is motion from the middle of one of the rows. Seems you're not alone. Hand carefully shifts from poised to gripping your handle as you take a defensive stance. The slowly moves into view, and you slide the blade from its sheath. The dim lighting makes the shadow difficult to discern at first, and the voice removes all doubt. Hello! Someone's wearing a skirt. Oh, what? Oh. I got a Genshin Impact notification even though I've never played it. Once. Oh, what voice did I do for Rhypite again? Regulator Eopara! I don't know. It's like I thought maybe today is a bad day. In one fluid motion, you sheath your sword and turn on your heel, back toward the door, and your hopefully quick escape. Oh, we've got Siraj as well. Oh yeah, great. Just what I needed today. Is there a problem here, Regulator? Of course, why would it not be both of them? Standing between you and your hoped-for exit is none other than Siraj Feltry. Defeated and resigned to your fate, you turn back to face the excitable entrepreneur behind you. Regulator, you just got here. No need to leave so soon. Why don't you sit down so we can have a nice friendly chat? Do you realize how dangerous it is to startle the Chief Regulator like that? I was moments away from introducing you to Proserpina. Wait. Proserpina. Is that a typo? Or have I read it wrong this whole time? I don't know. You tap your hip lightly, the sword swaying from the touch. Rabbit laughs with just a hint of nervous energy, but still extends his hand. Not to you, mind. To Proserpina. You grip your most treasured weapon defensively. Well, shucks. She can join us too. It's been forever and a half, Regulator. There's much to discuss. I can't say how glad I am you're here. I was starting to wonder when you'd follow up my recommendation. Yes, well, time and place for things and all that. Doesn't that sound familiar? There are two trains of thought running parallel through your mind. The first is searching for literally any way out of this social encounter. You're starting to feel nostalgic for the days where you could just chew up a window and lie through your teeth at the person on the other end of the phone call. No, you need to grit said teeth and don your grown-up blade. You can't leave, not unless you want to tip your trip to be for naught. The other train of thought ricochets right off the first one, and you start scanning the environment for Ephro. Siraj notices, Rhypite doesn't. How's the case going so far? Oh shoot, is that open for discussion? I'm not like blowing your cover, am I? Everyone present has been involved at some point. Or at least they will be, provided they show up soon. Rabbit wipes a pretend bead of sweat from his brow in relief. So your efforts to hammer the point hive, that you're looking for Ephro seems to soar over his head with flying colours. It's been real quiet ever since you left the office, let me tell you. Day in, day out, record a podcast episode every week, design new score themes, and not hide nor hair of dramatic robbery. I'm sure you've met more important things in my case to be worried about. Was the Celestial Crossroads set back when you tried to help me out? Siraj perks a brow. You'd be surprised. Celestial Crossroads hit the deadline running because we're quite good at our jobs as a matter of fact. So you are capable of showing up to work without a hangover. Rabbi's eyes goes wide as a dinner plates. I was ready to turn cold. It was like that struck a nerve. I'm working on it. Rabbi jumps into the conversation with all the grace of panicking Lutus, taking a step closer to you. Moves to take your attention off of her if you had to guess. Oh, but if any of you have read the latest Thaumatrope updates, these two. And work on it we did. Celestial Crossroads went splendidly and has already paved the groundwork for a wider branch of related themes. Oh, I didn't see the sprite. Oh. There's a lot of new Rhypite and Siraj sprites here as well, actually. And I was smack bang in the middle of keeping the apartment clean and tidy. Clean lands, heavy pans. You find the darndest things once you get your elbows dirty. Just the other night, I found one of my old smoochums. I think we should just maybe pump the brakes a little. We're walking circles around a dead omen trotter. Sejin turns to you and you can feel how much sharper her eyes are in your direction. I'm guessing you're looking for Ephro? Oh, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. He's in the back, working on the inventory. He? Reference records told you otherwise, but so did yours once upon a time. You believe everyone deserves a chance to, at the very least, try it out and see how it feels. Oh yeah, just to clarify, so
Hyan, or Refro, as he goes by he, him. He's still a woman, but he goes by he, him. So, epic. Well, they can't update the records for him, least of all while on the job. You make an underlined mental note all the same. Hey, Hyan, you got company. That's the kindest thing anyone said about you today. Hello, buddy. Don't know what word I was going for there. Never mind. From the door in the very back of the shop emerges a person who clearly means business. It's about time you met someone with an actual sense of professionalism around these parts. Okay. I remember me and my brother read this. We read it when it first came out, actually, so it was the first time. He did a really dumb voice for Hyan, and it was the worst thing I ever heard, so... What voice do I do for Refero? That is... it's obviously professional, so, what's the situation, Raipai? Your eyes meet, and you can feel the temperature in the room drop. Strange. Refero. He spends a good long while looking you up and down, as if searching you for a weapon, you know, in a gunshot. A particularly aggressive set of opening moves, Regulator. Well, that's in keeping with your reputation, I suppose. When people see your social skills could do some work. Against less skilled players, such a gambit is a natural first move. Before you can bite back at him, Raipai once again dives between the two of you. Oh, you've heard of Regulator Europara? Gosh, it's a small world, huh? It's easy to join arms around it, as they say. Did you know that she loves chess just like you do? I gathered you'd picked up on the hobby. The feeling is mutual. Just a glance back to the chessboard, but you've more important matters to tend to than visually reinforcing your comebacks. Okay, great. Both Sherlocks are on observation-enhancing seltzer and know everything about each other immediately. You pay Siraj's much remark no mind. This isn't some kind of fluff and fill of friendship adventure. You open your mouth to get to business. Now, what were you saying earlier about what you were doing? And the business wind is immediately knocked off from your investigative sales. It seems to want to take no for an answer. Fine, maybe some light conversation will ease Refero out of his shell. He's awfully quiet over there. Let's see here. How do you know each other? Hyan and I are Morals. I know, you said as much on the business card you gave me. I guess he'd forgotten if the look on his face is anything to go by. You mind if I ask why you did that, honey drop? I'm pretty curious myself. Well, why would I want people to know I'm the luckiest troll in Repton with the filled quarters I have? Siraj gives him the most affectionate eye roll you've ever seen. Gosh, this man can be sickeningly sweet. Even Hyan cracks a smile. That wasn't exactly what I meant for the record. Don't worry, I'm sure you'll get your answer soon enough. Siraj is privy to knack for muckraking after all. So it all started when Siraj and I moved to good old Stronghold 21. Or I could just willingly spill more than his fair share of beans, that too. At any rate, she definitely saw his eager participation coming, with the way she jumps right into the expository monologue sidecar with her mates for it. For context, before this, Raipai was always carrying around his plastic ray gun for some cheesy sci-fi flick or whatever. Bug crashes in the free 20-second centennial to be specific. Funny number. I don't see the issue. In his strife deck, I mean. Ah. So I told him to ditch the replica, sentimental though it might be, and pick up a real gun. You know, so he doesn't immediately kick the shitter the first time he engages in real Mortal Kombat with somebody. Guns with bullets do tend to be more effective for self-defense. And self-defense only, mind you. Views of that remark may have been directed at you. I was trained first time I was buying from my store. If you don't bother learning how to use it properly, you don't get the gun. That's my code of conduct. He helped me pick my gun out and taught me everything I know. From there on, we just really hit it off, I guess. You answer our Siraj while she takes sign that you're asking about her story as well. Me? Men from association. At least she's brief. Discuss games of the chess variety. I see your board back. Duplicity! Oh jeez, Siraj, I don't remember that sprite. Raipai cuts off with a snap of his fingers and a metaphorical light bulb behind his peep marbles. Hyan looks a little taken aback by the sudden outburst, but he doesn't so much as budge. Even more curious, he doesn't question the man you've made a habit of. The man, like you've made a habit of doing so, like your formal introduction. 2 letters too long. What? You're still on that? Seems like they want not in this particular loop, which absolutely will not do. And what, pray tell, would that be? Would that be? They've been trying to fill one of Hyan's crossword puzzles for the last hour or so. Take note, some words may be James, Bond, and mosquitoes. Had no clue it was still burning in the back of Pite's head till like 5 seconds ago, but what are you gonna do? You're not in the wrong ballpark though, good guess. Two-sidedness starts with a D, ends with a Y, 7 letters. Boy, it's practically on the tip of my think pan. Still a slumber all this time later. Right sees on it for a hot second before his gaze turns to you. Any ideas, Regulator? This is a pointless path of conversation to veer into. That being said, it's not like there's any part of you that isn't dying to flex your intellect. Do you attempt to help him out? Yes. Alright, what did you say? A word for two-sidedness, D, something, Y. All sorts of mathematical equations start soaring across in your think band synapses. The word must be... I actually guessed this first try, because it's not that hard. I almost just put the exact same fucking word here. Sorry, I've been reading a lot of Othello recently, and a big theme in that play is duplicitousness, and how Iago is duplicitous. So that kind of just immediately came to my head, but it's duality. Duality. It has to be duality, right? Everyone in the room looks at you except for Hyan, who walks over to his desk and retrieves what you can only assume is the crossword in question. Suddenly, he just jots it down. Right mutters a score under his breath, and immediately holds his hand up for a high five, which you ignore. So as you see the nastiest fucking stink eye you've seen in a while, it takes more than those sours look to intimidate you. You're just gonna have to deal with it. Okay. We'll take a rain check on that one. Same with Hyan. Hasn't improved either, from the looks of things. It would be terribly inconvenient if that had any consequence to your mission. Didn't even get to ask your initial question, which you take that as a sign that it just isn't going to happen right now. Not if I by interjecting random conversation topics willy-nilly and shedding a couple more weeks off your lifespan at least. I think you're strange to anymore, but you don't quite feel like dropping dead just yet. By this point, Suraj has started to look all antsy, and Hyan flat out isn't talking at all. Currently, Pite seems to be the only person in the room able to muster up any semblance of positive emotion. Pite, can I talk about something for a sec? Three-letter word of affirmation starts with Y. What's the situation? That's funny. With that, Suraj takes her mate spirit by the hand and leads him aside, speaking in hushed tones. Far too hushed for you to get a good grasp on their conversation, much to your chagrin. As you squint in their direction, Hyan stares you down. His silent gaze wordlessly accuses you of snooping. Listen, if they're not going to move into another room, you think that's not the biggest crime. They're being all kinds of suspect right now. I could kiss you. You do, frequently. With some kind of emotional second wind, the couple re-enters the conversation. Have an honest discussion about your feelings. What is no, out of the question. Regulator, not to put too fine a point on it. He doesn't finish the sentence, turning to Suraj with an uncertain glance. She nods, which seems to be all the information he needs. But there's so much unbroken ice in the room that we're practically standing in the middle of a freezer. There's no reason for that. I can think of plenty, but go on. His face. Think about all the fun times you had with me and Suraj here. You're on my podcast and you chucked a concoction like a total champ. I don't recall recording a proper episode with you. You did chuck the shit out of my brew, though. Chunks still taste like cleaning supplies and gel pen ink every so often thanks to that. Before you can tell Suraj as much, she gives you a pursed lip shrug that probably means something along the lines of, you get used to it. Point is, right, there's no reason to start off on the wrong strut pod with Hyan, so I'd really appreciate if you'd let us do a little exercise together. This is an activity we do around the office sometimes. Rabbit fetches a small circular gadget from his Silodex, fiddling with some knobs in a practiced fashion, before he also retrieves from 4 retractable antennae. He holds them out and Hyan takes 2. Right, Ben, are you certain about this? Trust me, this is a tried and true tactic. And how could you possibly say no to all this astonishing alliteration? With a 2-letter word that starts with N, if you had to hazard a guess. oh, whoever wrote this is a fucking genius. Rapite then extends the other rod to you, and you couldn't have less of a clue what's going on. Is he trying to probe you? No need to look so suspicious, Regulator. We're not here to fry your pants out or anything. See? Hyan's just fine. That doesn't make you any less skeptical, but you suppose you're destined to get into all sorts of tomfuck around these people. Reluctantly, you take the remaining 2 rods. By holding the antennae, I'm able to monitor your inner weather. When I see a storm coming on my little display here, that's when we should take a second to collect ourselves. Take a breath in and out, or however you calm down, as long as you avoid conflict. Is he serious? He looks serious. Whimsically serious. Why is this necessary? I'm perfectly capable of functioning without all this monitoring. If you're capable of functioning without monitoring, then you should have no problem with eyes on you. I have no objections. So be it. You've nowhere in storms to hide. We're all on the same page? Good. Take it away, Ripepipe. It's simple. You take 2 turns asking polite, friendly, non-case related questions. Get a conversation going. We won't have chit-chat. Don't just say yes or no. Let your words flow. Pardon me. I'm bloody Nora. Wait for his list to come off wait for him to list off the other rules, but it seems like he's finished. Just one then, alright. Fine, let's get this over with. That's a spirit. Hey, why don't you start us off with this? You know how it's done. Very well. I don't understand. Is this some kind of psychological test? You're being profiled right now? Your temp services are over, thank you very much. I'm still keeping regular contact with Sherry, but that isn't the point. Why are you looking for my services, regulator? We have to armament for a particular reason? I will not disclose case-related information to you. Though these are sensitive, you're not meant to talk about it. I won't be tricking you that easily. It's okay. You don't need to give your specific, just let things flow. We're passing each other over office-boiled monster boiler. Take a deep breath, thinking back to all the times you've passed one of said devices. It's a terrible example to give you because you're not a chatty person. You're a worker, first and foremost. Sure, this is far easier for someone like Ripepipe to encourage. Still, Cecily Eopara won't be discouraged. I'm here to talk. Less say about yourself, just talk. And proves your wares. You are not in any trouble. Hayam purses his lips in lieu of any other gesture of affirmation. Good enough for you, you guess. Unfortunately, now it's your turn. The gears in your mind start going into maximum overdrive. What else to talk about with this person? I start about the room, desperately trying to cling to some casual conversation topic, like a drunken troll grasping at a wet bar of soap. Just guns. Guns as far as the eye can see. Gun here, gun there, gun. There's Ripepipe's Raj. Gun, more gun. Time's running out, you need to make a decision. Gun. Do you like this job? Good enough. I do. I quite find there's intricacies that go hand in hand with the industry. It's like mechanical engineered poetry. Yourself? My job as a regulator, you mean? No, you're a fan of guns. Paid a favour one blade in particular, but that's a firearm you hold. Is there a firearm you hold in high regard? Wait, gets asked 2 questions in a row? Why does he get to ask 2 questions in a row? That's not how it's supposed to work. Easy though, there's no supposed to regulator, Eopara. Gives heavily hard rules. I promise you it's alright. Here's all more important than how we get there. Just ask as many questions as feels natural. Ripepipe is showing some clear bias towards Hyan in your professional opinion. There's not much you can do about that. Yes, I have a gun, but I will not be handing it over. Trash sighs loudly, but likes having to pick up your trash for you. Nobody's asking for your gun, regulator. It's all yours. Hey, if you're showing guns, would you like to take a look at mine? Oh god. Rabbit reaches for his holster and sweeps his life in death situations and sends your think pan spinning. Everything happens in a second. Your hand over Proserpine instinctively, prepares to defend yourself. Hyan spots your movement and steps forward to shield his Moriel, while Suraj jolts to steer Ripepipe off his chosen path with panic gestures. It's not loaded, I'm sorry. Four of you freeze in your tracks, staring at each other. It's so deathly silent you can hear your pulse thumping in your oral canals. Ripepipe is the first to move after what seems like an eternity and a half, slowly raising his hands up to show he's unarmed. Everybody then follows the example, returning to the civil stances from before. Why are you surprised you kicked your back legs like that, giving Ripepipe's track record of being completely and totally harmless? You must feel bad for nearly drawing your weapon on him. He should know better than to display that sort of conduct around the chief regulator, though. That's on him. Right. Regulator, as you were. Oh, great, it's your turn again. The settings from last time seem effectively somewhat, so you give him environment scanning a second shot. I don't know why you expect anything different to jump out at you. With the adrenaline rush Ripepipe just gave you will heighten your senses and make you spot the register. And another gun. People with bad guns, you're unbelievably shitty at this. So do you have to deal with bad customers on this line of work? Is it right at you for some reason? It comes with the territory. Working any store is a magnet for the eventual rotten customer. Matter of fact, I had a real nasty one earlier today. The sister I was overcharged and demanded to talk to the troll in charge. I am the troll in charge. She demanded to speak to my manager. I am the manager. You try telling you own the place? Hyan sighs, but it's not directed at Suraj. If anything, he seems to welcome her dry sense of humour. I really appreciate these two stopping by to keep me company. It's been one of those days. Still his melody. I'm sorry. No, I should be the one apologising for jumping the gun. Why is Ripepipe smiling? You just said sorry for jumping the... I see what you did there, sharpshooter. You also see now. Pun not intended. Hyan's starting to ease up at least. There's a tiny hint of a smile right there. You choked accidentally is what you're saying. It's going to be like that then. You could play that game. You cut off throat and think as many gun terms as you can. Then you're in an environment where you could look at a whole bunch of guns everywhere. Only because I had it in the chamber to begin with. Can't help but wonder if you have some more of that caliber. I could rifle through my arsenal if you'd like. How they organised? Bullet points? Combat have to clip on in any case. You're doing it, store is clearing. Tension's dissipating, the crowd goes wild. Right pumps his arm in excitement, and you think it's endearing for all of 2 seconds before your eyes lock onto the device in his hand. His wrist is twisted just enough for you to see a clock face. There's not even any knobs on that thing. You thought you just saw him just something, but he must have been miming the whole time. Gaze lowers to the rods in your hand. You didn't pick up on it earlier, but you think these might have been plucked from an antiquated television. Out of the corner of your eye, you see Siraj nudge Ripite's elbow. 2 times and 2 times again, Ripite reads his magical weather device and gasps. Oh, looks like the clouds are forming again. What's the matter, Regulator? It all clicks. Siraj has been the one reading you both and alerting Ripite. She's the weather detector. She's the clouds coming from Ripite. And Ripite mediates. Making a fool out of you and derailing your investigation. We're done here. Hold the rods out to Ripite, staring him down until he hesitantly takes them back. This nonsense has gone on for long enough. I'd like a moment to speak with Hyan in private. Ripite's face falls and Siraj looks annoyed, but you're not surprised. Like this was inevitable. I thought you were going to work this out together. You know, solve the case for real this time as a team. I'm solving this case, Mr. Coldown, as the standing regulator in charge of it. I'd appreciate it if I could go back to my job now, with no further distractions. You don't need Siraj's input to see how that cut Ripite down to the bone. He lifts his eyes toward the floor. Hyan, call us when you're done here. Come on, Ripite, we're leaving. You sense sharp as ever catch faint traces of attempts to console Ripite, something about it not being his fault, and looking at a gift piece in the mouth. Whatever, what does she know about people getting in your way? Come on, Cecily, just ease up a bit. Okay, we're getting Hyan's actual theme now. You don't need help from civilians. It's you against the world, the same as always. So down to the particulars, I've had many of my peers swear by the quality of your craftsmanship, Hyan. Refero. If you think we're anywhere near first name basis, Regulator, I assure you you're sorely mistaken. You're using the picture of professionalism, but hold it back and involving Ripite's right seems to have thrown off your game. Two aerials thrust into your hands, and already you're forgetting protocol. It is no different to any corporate sponsored visit. Of course, Refero. Anything to your power will do fine myself. Naturally. I've got some Fanta here that I've not opened yet. I wonder what a Fanta would Fanta's effects are on Repeton. It's even mod. I actually used a can opening effect in one of my compositions for Music Tech. I thought it was pretty neat. It's even more difficult to get a clear read on him now that those two are gone. He certainly is a stoic individual, and those aviators do make it troublesome to see the usual facial tells. The eyebrow raise is easy enough to comment on, but his shoulders, his folded arms, they're tense, guarded but not afraid. You're almost relieved about such a standoffish response. There's nothing quite like the familiar ground of exercising your investigative skills. Oh, this Fanta's like the only fizzy drink I can actually drink now. Don't ask. You just need to find the right way to unearth the information you're after. The steps to take forward a satisfying score. Before that, though, you have to move the all-important first piece. As I was saying, many of my peers speak highly of the quality of your craft, Refero, and you've also made some custom firearms for regulators in the past, from what I've heard. I have. An expanse away from Refero was just smoking sugar with a dynamic corporate duo. This is strictly business. Good thing you're all about business too. For once, you can leave swamp escapades behind closed doors. You're not sending into bunkers or following on-sea directives. And this definitely isn't a quest at the behest of some guest, which awfully left you rather less than impressed. Said you guessed best. I refer to being an ideal supplier, you mean? What? Okay. What you're ultimately saying is that it's about time you did a regular-ass thing like purchasing some firearms from a shop. I'm looking to upgrade my arsenal before taking down a highly dangerous fugitive. Having this a compact and quiet machinery with decent range as well as something for close quarters should cover most of my bases, but I'm open to suggestions. You are the expert here, or so I'm told. That I am? If your eyes are set on quietness, silencers are your best bet. There's ones for pistols, submachine guns, and rifles. They also reduce recoil. Rather helpful for hunting down an insurer when you don't bring attention to yourself. Muzzle blasts make quite a piercing sound. And I'm sure you're a rare regulator. My training covered quite a few basic aspects of firearm use, yes. Mind you, they only help in hunting the shot itself, not the bullet on its own. Your handy dangerous fugitive might still hear that. I always wonder why they're called silencers if they don't exactly silence all sound. Please spare me it's actually a suppressor lecture. They're the same thing. I thought some real piece of work getting on my case over semantics. Far be it from me to question the wordologists on this one. For the record, I'm thankful for your knowledge on this area. His Because I've been trained on you for the whole exchange. Any slight movement noted almost instantly. You're not going to be able to find this information you need like this. You have to get him out of your way for a moment somehow. Surely, though, you have some higher grade wares than the stock you have on display. You better practice to have valuable and dangerous firearms in plain sight, I imagine. There's a twinge of hesitation, and you hear him mutter a tired, of course, under his breath. Yes, I have some specialized stock in the back, but I assure you. Therefore, I must remind you of the seriousness of this case. I appreciate knowing all of my options. All I'm asking is to see them. That's not too much trouble, I'm sure. Alright, I'm sure I can leave a robust review of your shop in my final reports. A few seconds passed. Refer seems intent on becoming a perfect candidate for Mary Tussauds museums and how he barely moves an inch. This is recalled that his body is made of flesh instead of wax and leads to sales floor with a nod. Now's his best chance. Before you start to comb this place for details, you're reminded of how quickly your professionalism was compromised earlier. A little caution goes a long way. You start with a general scan, casual turn to survey the area. You're primarily searching out cameras. As you suspected, there's a few around. While you're trained on the counter with a register, a few others seem to cover a good portion of the main floor, including the rear of the shop. You catch another one on the opposing side of the room, positioned just above an antique ancestor clock. All in all, a pretty standard camera layout. However, you're in luck. The camera that's trained on the register is in the one at the back of the store. You can position your back just right to ensure that your actions are masked. Of course, you're absolutely licensed to make a full inspection of the premises if you so desire. Regulating is just as much gathering intel as analysing scenes is pursuing criminals. In your professional opinion, though, giving a forewarning to the trolls you're trying to get information from can lead to said information becoming less than accessible. Sometimes you just have to go for it. Approaching the counter with the most nonchalant walk you can muster as a regulator in a large cloak, try and eye any items that might be of particular interest. There's some sort of receipts, mostly empty cardboard folded. Oh, praise the All-Mother. A physical Trollodex. Finally, someone gets it. So replacing the glorious feeling of Trollodex card in your hands. The subtle colouring, the tasteful thickness of it, they're even watermarked by corporate, so you know they're the real deal. That's perhaps one thing Necron has on you. It's comfortable dealing with technology. But that's fine. If you did a bit of technological sleuthing on this very case, Osh's computer likely puts you on your grasp. Can you handle yourself around a husk top? Absolutely. You just prefer not to, that's all. All of your musings has brought you exactly where you want to be, as the counter proper. Take a moment to rest your arms against the glass, leaning back against a sturdy cabinet. You place your body squarely between the camera and the decks. Satisfied, you make yourself busy pretending to keep your head level with the guns on the back wall. With a practiced hand, you begin your real quest, taking as much note of each card as you can manage in a narrow window of opportunity. Flick, pause, carefully read and remember, flick again. You notice a few familiar regulator faces, some trolls you recognise from a mandated list of registered firearm owners' Ripite's card. Aha, here we go. Halfway through, the flick of divider brings to light a few interesting characters. Some are familiar, but most individuals beyond the single separating sliver are sinister to say the least. There's even a very well-known underworld figure in here. Suffice to say, this is much more than you were bargaining for. Try to keep your composure as you finish some mental snapshots. Shoot, snapshots. Gravitas is right there. All you need to recall these cards now that you've taken the time to look them over. It'll be much easier to record a quick rifle through the rest, though. And examine that footage at the time when you're not under pressure of being discovered by a noted firearm specialist. You might slightly yawn and stretch. Really sell that faux apathy to the cameras. Work it, Cicely, give him nothing. Having you set up to rest your head in your hand, you aim YVS as best you can towards the invoices lying on the table. Click, much faster. Regulator Eopara. Uh-oh. Voice comes from behind you. You faint a look of being broken from an exhausted stupor, sitting to face Refro. Between his hands you can see a cool number of complex firearms, clearly high quality. Before you can say a word, Refro places them down on a nearby table. His lips curl in distaste. You'll think me a fool, but I have heard tales. I see firsthand the hurt left in your wake, and of your fellow regulators. I know of your ilk, and I know how I left my decks. Perceptive. Regardless, this is well within your jurisdiction, as he should know. I would urge you not to be so hasty. No, you listen to me. His hands slam down on the table. The firearms jostle. Your hand in turn goes to clench at Prosperina's hilt. Prosperina. Was it Prosperina or not Proserpina? Have I been reading it wrong this whole time? What the fuck? That's annoying me. That's really annoying me. I'm gonna have to go check back on the other routes because that's fucking annoying. Just because you have the authorization to use evasive investigative methods, does that mean you have the moral authority to wield them?
cannot come here and search my establishment for more information about my clientele, who I will have you know conduct themselves far better than you happen to be doing right now. Life is not a game regulator, Yopara, and even if it were, you do not get to choose my moves for me. I will choose to move my king to C6. Stop bracing for an altercation. This is not all what you were expecting, and definitely not from a noted supplier of regulators. Oh, they even said, oh wow. I warn you, Refer, that I will not hesitate to act as needed. Where's your other blade now? You gesture to where your hand was exposed to a coat. Pour it on Prosperina. Okay. Proserpina's handle, ready as always to draw. You have 2 scarabs, but only one is filled. King to B4. The clatter of metal on the church floor and a large jade figure burst into your mind. You being thrown out on the streets by your lapples. Guilt. Sudden chiming ringtone sent the image back the same way it came, into the dark recesses of your mind. You tremble as you try to silence it. That's not the time. You left out of sorts, the myriad of visual paraphernalia and YVS's insistent ringing threatens to overwhelm your senses. Uh-oh. If you could, you close your eyes for a moment, regain some sense of stability. There's no way for you to tear your gaze off the scene for a moment. If Ripeline's assessment is true, then the rumors from the other regulators carry a weight. All you need to know is you need all your senses alert and active. I will not be interrogated, Refer. This is absurd. The person in front of you raises a single finger to his lips. We feel compelled to go along with such a notion escapes you. Maybe you're losing your edge. Refer adjusts his glasses, letting out a deep, heavy sigh. Feel his eyes search you, almost as physical pressure, your own face staring right back at you through the reflection of his shades. The phone rings again. You almost fling it off your skull as it sings its digital song, melting with the ever-present ticking of an ancestor clock. Your shaking, uncooperative hands manage to silence it. How many times has that blade undeservedly cut short a life? How many times have you chosen to deal out justice as you saw fit? How many times have you hindered it in the name of corporate? Fuck, not again. In her name. King lays pawn A4. Continue if you wish. If you're in your haste and over simulation, you have made a fatal error. You can only play this game to a stalemate now. That is quite enough! Your sights across the air as if it were Prosperina. Wow. That's slicing through flesh. It crashes against the Trollodeck, still sitting on the counter, cars scattering onto the floor like a total monarch. First time you see Refer flinch. The water follows your hand's motion, and suddenly your eyes have trained to the exit of the shop. Fist tightly closed against your hips. One knocks against the hollow sword case, and you freeze. From the sound is all you can hear, echoing in your eardrums. One deep breath, a slow turn, and then a single word. Enough! The ringing stops. Leave the store. Jeez. So you shall pass the threshold. YVS once again chirps by your ear. This time your hand is quick on the draw. This is a terrible time, Necron. Say something, thank God! Just get right out of my skull, you'd taken a bad turn somewhere. I'm sorry you had so little faith in me. What do you want from me, sis? I haven't heard from you since we sashed the sick lead in the grubby caverns. Did big old business give you a slap on the wrist? What's the skinny? Your mind keeps latching onto the ringing, the ticking of Referent's words. You shake your head twice, a desperate attempt to shed the webs of audio silk wrapping around your skull. A long exhale leaves your lungs before you can hold it in. It's like an eternity has passed since you went on that expedition. Every word that surfaces from the depths of your mind feels insufficient to offer as an explanation. I've been busy. No kidding, pal. Kind of an understatement there. Still didn't explain why you went up and vanished, though. I thought we were a team. You could take a sec to keep me in the loop. This case continues to jeopardize the safety of all involved. I can handle myself fine, Necron. Sorry, Rick, you and I both know that's a bullshit reason. If we stand back to back, cultists surrounding us and come out and let mess with just through scrapes, I think we can handle one little breathy bastard and his gang of weirdos. Plus, you know my guppy and I got your back. Thought of your scrappy mechanist friend makes the smallest of smiles creep onto your face. It falls a second later as your throat unexpectedly constricts. Press your back against the outside wall of Gunhilda. Hey, Cecily? You still there? You're so tired. You're going to get yourself killed, Necron. I can't be responsible for that. I don't want you getting hurt over this. There's pause on the other end of the line, and then laughter. Small, quickly building to an uproar. You gotta be yanking my chain, boss! Appreciate the concern, but I'm a big boy. Been in this line of work for a while, remember? Plus, wait till let me talk about me getting hurt. Because if you're looking to bounce on this here partnership, I gotta tell you, that sting way more than any punch a cultist could throw my way. Think I'm just gonna let you get rid of me that easy? Please! Son, you huff through your nose, but it's half a laugh of your own.
What were you thinking? This guy will never give up. Would never give up, right to the bitter end. Never let you down. Who better to have your side? This whole case screams liability lawsuits. One of those corporate has a field day. If you're sure about this, we need to take every precaution we can. There's a lot of information we don't have going into this final confrontation, so we need to prepare for every scenario. I'm currently accessing some high-quality firearms for the conflict. We can rendezvous later to go over more detailed plans. Right on. I'll get Orica caught up too. I want to check in with Mishiri as well. If you're insisting on going in a team, I want the team to be as polished as we can make it. The Mishiri? Truly an honor, boss. You can count on me. Alright, jet soon. Never be a stranger. Blango's dead. It's quiet. You spent so long with nothing to keep your company but your own thoughts. Threats continue to make themselves known. If not Ormsey, then who you fought alongside Necron equally jeopardized the safety of this stronghold and this planet. You're not about to let them interfere any longer, but the expanses are wide. You couldn't cover the full stretch of land between the waste to the spaceport by yourself, even if you tried. If you've been tasked to protect these two vital individuals, Elsie Rain's an architect for Vurat, surely some assistance will not be unwarranted. Hey, you don't know Architect's name yet. With your expertise, insight, and leadership at the helm, of course. You can't do it all, Iapara. It's about the team, the group effort. Trolls from different walks of life coming together, bringing their own experiences and specialisation to the table. A little help can be a good thing, you suppose. Not that you'd ever say as much aloud. You fish out Ripite's business card and turn it over in your hand once more. Good at puzzles like this. You've pieced together quite a puzzle over these past few weeks, but it's not whole just yet. Maybe you need a set of eagle eyes to see where the missing pieces fit. As you take a step towards the threshold of a gun shop, you hesitate, stopping dead in your tracks. Recall the previous altercation. As you don't really need a full recall moment for something that happened only a minute ago, you're caught up snooping around Refero's contacts and grilled like a steamed ham on a corporate holiday. What he said about what you do, it stung to the core. You always held on to the thought that you'd send as many to the beyond as needed to avenge her. How your pain has shaped you, Cecily. How much stronger you are now you have something to fight for. That exchange rings in your mind. You wish you could forget the whole conversation. You inhale, you exhale. The air is stale and cold. Reaching into your pocket, you pull out her card, close your eyes, and hold it against your forehead. She would have said the same thing had you tried playing games with her. What is it with you and Goldbloods? Well, there's it confirmed. You slowly pull the card away and return it to its rightful place. Once more into the breach. Things haven't changed much since you left. Scattered across the floor are the troll X cards you so carelessly collided with during the hasty exit. Hunched over them is Refro, who's gathering the cards into piles, meticulously arranging them back into neat, orderly stacks on the counter. What? He doesn't look up from the cards. Well, she dropped a quirk. I don't want to play games with you anymore, Refro. And I apologise for my unprofessionalism here today. Refro pauses. Then he stands up, placing another stack onto the counter. Please leave, Regulator. I'd like to clean up before closing for the day. Right, of course. Take a step forward, but Refro instantly takes a step back, teeth gritted. It's slight, but you can tell his hand is hovered to his holster. Diffuse the tension. Clear the storm. Here. You unclasp your scabbards and remove your pistol holster, placing both onto the ground in front of you. Almoth, you can't believe you're taking advice from Ripite. Refro slowly relaxes his hovering hand, taking a moment to look at you up and down before resuming his task. He then grab a few invoices that were scattered close to the door. Not a bad pistol. For a regulator. What do you want? Well, to be honest, I need help. If you're so intent on scrutinising my every move, I prefer you at least scrutinise the moves I need second opinions on. A puzzle we can work on together. Take a careful step forward, eyeing for a reaction. Refero watches you, but doesn't respond in kind. He's tense, he's breathing short and quick. You delicately place the invoice back on the counter. After a moment of deliberation, he moves over to the game area of the shop, pulling up a chair at the table with a mid-progress chess game. Speaking of progress, there it is again. Maybe that empty bar will be filled with a serious helping of insight increments by the end of your exchange. Sit. You get 3 questions, then you're out of my sight. He makes a point of clearing the board and setting up 3 pawns along the back row. Pardon me. 3 questions. It's best to make them count. Yet I only see 2? Northern Waste crime scene. The particular assignment began with a priceless cargo stolen from an overnight convoy. It was travelling through the Northern Waste at the moment of attack. Honestly, it was at least 1 broken maintenance drone and a small char device attached to the wheels of a truck. The attack was precise, and although the truck was filled with a wide variety of items, only the one item was taken. Nothing else was removed. They had prior knowledge, then. It was a meticulous strike. So it seems. I've not heard a question yet. Though context is always appreciated. He folds his arms, you can hear his boots tapping against the floor. Right, yes, what do you think? We're on fire with the questions today. We're not space to work with, I suppose, but the challenge can be a good thing. Assuming that a highly dangerous fugitive is involved in this ordeal, but they are unsure how they knew about the cargo's movement in the first place. It's not a stretch to assume that an accomplice inside corporate itself. One who would have intimate knowledge of the scheduling and transport division. Possibly a trucking enthusiast, and a few regulators who are keeping an ear out on the local wireless. Piss off. A trucking enthusiast certainly sounds like a solid lead. Of course, you know one quite intimately, but I mean that's ridiculous, right? He's the reason you were able to effectively analyze the initial crime scene in the first place. I surmise as much, but I don't exactly run in those sorts of circles myself. Maybe you should start. I think it's good to meet new people. Sometimes. This girl says a great deal about who he's referring to. Maybe you should pursue another line of inquiry. Let's try something else. Very well. He removes the pawn from the board, sitting it against the side of the table. He was for all conversation. It was a very abrasive and loud investigating. Through some very abrasive and loud investigating, I got a record of a particular voice discussing route data. Seemed to implicate themselves as being on corporate payroll and selling this data to someone. Someone took the length to disguise their own voice. The first voice was unfamiliar? I actually haven't listened to it yet. You do have it though, the recording. Sammy sent it through shortly after you returned from your expedition to the reduplication cabins. You just can't bring yourself to. You've been busy. In my first opinion, you should maybe do that. Regardless, this isn't a question. You merely send a scene. While the pawns dance from side to side, his fingers shifting the piece idly to and fro. I'm getting there. There are a number of individuals present that night. Why do you think someone might have done that? Rever pauses for a moment before moving the pawn between his fingers to the side of the table. He runs his hand through his hair. It's a tall order to try and pin down any individual's motive. So many trolls have been forced into poverty through various factors. Shoko provides what it can for those it deems valuable enough, but this is stepping dangerously close to anti-corporate sentiment, Refero. His shoulders rise as he averts his gaze. After adjusting his glasses, he seems to find the words he's looking for. There are trolls out there barely able to make ends meet, Regulator. I'm just saying I can see why they might be trying to pick up some loops in any way they can. But who knows? There's every chance it was a personal vendetta. Either way, it definitely had an informant on the inside. Anyone who might have had it out for the company? Or for you? I mean, it was a corporate event. The guest list was mostly employees. Refer lets out a small chuckle. In my opinion, it doesn't necessarily absolve them of that particular motive. Some trolls aren't a big fan of their bosses. I'm certainly not sure how you feel about yours at the moment, to be fair. You decided to let that statement slide. As for those with grudges against me, I'm sure there's a few. In fact, I know there's at least one. I spent most of my night with her. Like his Mrs. Yeshin and the gaudy trucks she rode in on. Clear throat. The same one I left in. Refer raises an eyebrow. Surely you recognize your own contradiction there, Regulator. Didn't you tell me a moment ago you weren't familiar with trucking circles? I mean, certainly, Yeshin has a fascination with trucks, but that's a long string to draw, Refero. If the piece is fit, then the man is not his shape. I think Yeshin, was it? She has know-how and required access to corporate information, especially she's been in the business for long. All kinds of opportunities arise if you're in the habit of keeping your ear to the ground. You have the loose lips, data breaches, simple troll error. Also, I'm surprised you've come to me before talking to her. I'd assume that's the sort of lead you'd want to chase right away. Fingers tap an incessant rhythm against your arm. The two of us were quite close during the night. It's unlikely she slipped away after a rendezvous. And before that? You open your mouth to respond, but none of the words leave you. Refer raises an eyebrow. Oh, I thought I was meant to be the one asking questions. Go on then. He gestures across the board back to you. One piece left. Investigate complete. Huh? Sure you're not doing the investigation already? For clear state, YVS displays a complete full meter. It displays all necessary insights have been revealed with the question to spare. It doesn't feel like a victory. Conversation with Refero has left your throat dry with your fists clenched. All the answers have continuously pointed towards the one case file you've tried to avoid. Science could not be clearer, and yet you hesitate. You open your mouth before closing it again, taking another moment to organize your thoughts. Head is maelstrom of feelings you don't care to examine. Not now. What is left to ask? What do you think I should do? The goldsmith carefully considers your question. The moons have shifted across the sky since your arrival at the shop, and their bright light casts a pale glow over the scene. I have no easy answer for you, Regulator Iopara. Sometimes all we can do is face the facts. That little word starts with C, to defeat. Anything on the cryptic note? It draws a small scowl from you. More crossword puzzles. He holds your gaze, waiting you score your mental vocabulary for partial solutions. Conquered? Checkmate. Refer moves the final pawn off the board, setting it aside before standing up from the table. There you go. 3 questions. Her eyes lock on you, again stare back at yourself in those visors. He's always looking at you intently, scouting your actions. He's the first to break eye contact. Please leave, Regulator Yopara. Right. Now. I believe we are done here. Step away from the table, moving to collect your weapons. The scabbards knock against each other with a hollow clunk, and you hear a choked gasp cut through the silence. Huh. With methodical and practiced precision, you reaffix the weapons and straighten your jacket. Thank you, Refro. Good luck. As you leave the store, the crisp breeze picks up once more. The moons are close to setting, and as the sun slowly rises, you find yourself pulling out a card. You hold it in your hand, willing her to give you the strength to face your last suspect. You have to know for sure. Okay, let's be real. It was so fucking obvious from the get-go that it was Yeshin who sold the data. It's so obvious. We already know she's a trucking enthusiast. We knew that from her Trollodex card. So, you know. Anyway, speaking of Trollodex, let's look at the achievements we got. Because we haven't done that yet. Let's see. Got an assignment from Sestro. Received a warning from Hemifi. Weathered help from Ripite. Got a challenge from Siraj. We've received an alibi from Bitcon. Received calling wisdom from Husky. Listened to cultist exposition from Rendari. Obtained a new companion from Orica. Received endless gratitude from Mocius. Learned more about the Elena case from Mashiri. Received a delicious meal from Roro. Learned about the Master of the Soul from Cadlis. Learned about a strange book from Necron. Got a stern scolding from Gerbat. Received an anonymous forewarning from Valtel. Got some auditory assistance and a headache from Sabine. Got something impossible to wash out smell on your coat from Glomer's Batsu. You decided to name a grub. Decisions were made. A new perspective was acquired. Unraveled the contradiction with Refero. And for now, that's where we're up to with Snowbound Blood. Let's look at the credits actually. I've not done that. I get meaning to. Directors and producers. So we have Austin. Obviously Austin. I tried to say two different words at once there. Obviously, we've got Austin, we've got Eddie, we've got Kate, we've got Kohi, we've got Heather, and we've got Zam as the directors and producers. Game design, Kohi again, Veritas Une, Alienoid. So writers, Kate wrote for 1, 3, 5, 6, 9, and prologue and some other stuff. Optimistic Duelist, I know them. Wrote Destro's route. I keep forgetting that he wrote Destro's route. That's crazy. He's actually the one who got me into Crosscode. I stuck into one of his Patreon exclusive streams, which was pretty funny. Pip wrote 1 to 5. Alienoid wrote in 2, 3, 7, 10. Austin 3, 5, 7, 9. Heather volume 3 and 4. Eddie 3 and 5. Zero 4 and 10. Veritas Une 6 and 10. Aiden 7, 8 and 10. Pragmatic Dual Nihilist 7 and 9. Donut 10 and Charlie 10. Character artists. Zam drew Cecily, Sestro, Hemifi, Ripite, Siraj, Sessignesh and Jansing, Puzzle, Gerbat and Croesus. Part of me wants Zam to draw Noxious, but I don't know, probably. Zero drew Bitcon, Husky, Yeshin, Talald and Snare. Big Chalupa drew Endari. I'm surprised I didn't recognise that style actually, because they did Wake Up, didn't they? I think that's what it's called. Phil drew Orica, Necron, Valtel. Olshu drew Oshus and Krytum. Donut drew Mashiri, Roro and Hyan, obviously because Hyan's Donut's character. Charlie drew Cadlis and Gloma. Bana drew Sabine. And Heather drew the executive. Background artists: Charlie, Phil. I'm not going to do the work. Is that Jimmy, Helly Kane? Anyone new? Dia. Ending illustrations: Phil. Pragmatic PM did a lot of the music, most of it. PM's great. Kate did some themes, obviously for her characters. James Roach did Bitcon and Husky's theme. Split Suns did Sabian, Crime's theme, and some other things. Oh, Sabian's freaking me. Viridian did the Cultist theme in volume. I forgot what volume it was. R&D, or just Kurt did they did something. Moonsweater did the monorail theme. Christida did a tense conversation theme. Oh, I was wondering what. Oh yeah, that's what that was. That's not on any of the playlists. Cecily, Mishuri, and Yeshin were made by Kate. Sestro, Oshius, Necron, Puzzle, Talal, Sabine, Gloma, Sine, and the Existent were made by Austin. Hamifi, Endari, Orica, and Valtel were made by Heather. Raipai, Siraj, Gerbat and Kratos were made by Zam. Big Holiday Zero, Diz made Husky. Roro and Callus made by Fear. And Krytum and Hyan were made by Donut. So thanks, Z-Tine, Izu, all these lot. Obviously Captain Falcon David. Pardon me. And yeah, so that's it for Snowbound Blood so far, until Volume 11 gets released, where we're going to confront Yeshin and probably Noxious as well. But that's it. So when I'm done with college, I will get to reading Vastera. I'll probably play some DS emulator games as well, and finish FF6 eventually. So thanks for watching so far, if you have. Like, comment, subscribe, share to any Vastera fans you may know. Get into Vastera if you're not already, and Snowbound Blood. And yeah, goodbye.